The very first thing when I learned how to use AI was creating an AI content system that would replace some of the repetitive tasks that I did in the past. Being a full-time mom, like kind of full-time, kind of 3 kids under the age of 7,
Three
full-time job.
jobs.
Yeah, I had 3 jobs and then a full-time job and the client work that I need to fulfill. I've saved so much time and I want that for other people too. I want people to use AI wisely, not to overwhelm them, but more of a take the burden off their plate. If you can just learn one tool, I suggest learning Claude Code because Claude Code can do so much more. Claude Code made a system in N8N, which is automation platform. Then they email me every single day. It's like, this is the video that you need to talk about. What I want to teach you guys, and also what I want to promise is after you watch the whole video, you'll feel like, I know where to start.
My special guest is an AI content strategist who helps entrepreneurs use AI to simplify their content creation process. She's the founder of SLE Automation. Her community is AI Content Systems. Sandy Lee, welcome to the show. How you doing today?
Hi, good. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me here.
It's awesome to have you here. So before we get into what we're going to talk about today, which is content systems with AI, I'd love to hear a little bit about how you got into AI. Tell us
Yeah,
the story.
sure. So a little bit about my background is I actually started creating content for myself back in 2018. So ever since I was 11 years old, my mom sent me everywhere. I was raised in like 7 different countries. So when I started my content, I thought about how can I differentiate myself with all these other creators. Back then, I thought there were a lot of creators. But anyways, I thought to myself, you know what? If I speak Korean, Spanish, and English, so which means I can probably do something related to language. And my channel was about teaching Korean to Spanish speakers.
Mm.
And the reason why we were sharing that is because back in the day, back in 2018, I got so overwhelmed with all the manual process, right? And fast forward 2025, that's when I first learned about Claude and Claude Code and all that after ChatGPT, is I just felt like there's a lot of things that are going to get replaced by AI, not only because the news is talking about it. Like I know that's going to happen because I've seen that happen with my coworker's job and with even my job, that a lot of tasks are replaced by AI. I didn't say humans being replaced by AI, but a lot of tasks are. And as soon as I felt that, I'm like, I need to learn AI and then kind of duplicate what I did back in the day, back in 2018, which was personal brand and content creation. So that was when I first got to know AI and actually use it towards my project. And I'm not talking about just the regular talking to ChatGPT or Claude asking questions. No, I'm talking about the real projects that you build. And that was last year, like end of 2025. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because I really needed to save time. And also I wanted to duplicate success that I had back in 2018.
So tell us a little bit more. So were you back when you were making videos online, presumably teaching people how to speak Korean, right?
Mhm.
That were Spanish speaking people. And then eventually over the years, it sounds like you've learned how to create video. So you decided you were going to create videos specifically teaching people how to use AI. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So back in 2018 was more about teaching people how to learn Korean. That's it. And I had to do everything so manually in terms of like filming the video, editing and scripting and doing everything was the manual process. And a little bit about me again, I have 3 kids under the age of 7. So
You're a
just
busy
very,
mom.
very busy. Yeah, I'm a mom. I'm a busy mom. And also I have a full-time job right now. Also client work is just, I have no time to do what I did back in 2018. Back then I only had 1 kid and I didn't have a job. So that was pretty much my full-time job was full-time mom plus being a creator. So I feel like I had a little bit of time to dedicate myself, but now looking back, it's like I can't do exactly what I did back then. So what I did, the very first thing when I learned how to use AI was creating an AI content system that would replace some of the repetitive tasks that I did in the past. Again, I didn't say that replaced me, but I said replaced the work that I would do on repetitive basis. So that's the main difference that I did. I hope I was clear. Did I
Yeah,
answer your
no, no, totally cool. So today you are still a mom, obviously, still have a full-time job, and the side hustle is you're creating all this great content and teaching people effectively how to do what you're doing yourself. Am I hearing that correctly? And more?
correct?
Okay, very cool. So, because you're in the business of educating people on how to use things and how to do things that they do not know how to use, which I absolutely love. Um, you probably see a lot of misconceptions out there, right? You hear a lot of things from people. You probably consume a lot of content. So when it comes to AI and content or AI and processes related to content, what are some of the biggest things that you hear that necessarily may not be true, that are maybe a misconception?
Hmm. I think one of the biggest misconception is you have to learn every single tool that's out there or update in order for you to be expert in AI and use AI. That is one of the biggest misconceptions that I've ever heard. When I first learned AI, to be honest with you, was end of 2025. So that was November of 2025. And that was back then N8N, which is the automation platform that I
Wait,
feel like
2025? So we're talking less than a year. Is that
yeah,
right?
less than a year ago. Yeah, that's when I
Wow.
learned. Well, I knew about AI before when ChatGPT came out. If you're talking about the very basic AI, but I'm talking about one step a little further, which is actually creating projects AI, which is Claude Code, right? So I learned Claude Code end of November last year. Okay. And after learning Claude Code, I found this client who was willing to pay me $3,000 for social media, like SEO automation. Anyways, so that client is now paying me 50 like $5,500 a month. That's a monthly retainer.
Wow.
And also because of my YouTube channel that I currently have, which I grew my channel to 200 subscribers to 11,000 subscribers less than a month.
Wow.
So because I was using this AI content system. And with this channel, I made $4,500 last month. So altogether, I made about $10,000. And you're talking to me who just barely learned AI like end of last year, not even 6 months ago. So the biggest misconception that you ask me is you have to learn every single thing because people talk about it. If you open YouTube, they're like, "Oh, new update, you got to use this tool for this and that." That confuses you so much. So my biggest thing is you have to stick with one thing. And as long as you know what you want to work on, just come up with one tool that you can use for that project.
I love that. And folks, here I am with Sandy on my podcast because she is creating content specifically focused on teaching AI. And because I looked at her content and my team looked at her content and we said, hey, she is very articulate. She clearly communicates. I would love to get her on the show. So this is what's fascinating is you do not need to be an AI expert, clearly, right? But you just need to be really, really good at going deep and understanding something and teaching it. And this is what I tell a lot of people is like, you don't have to be at the front of the pack. You just have to be a little further along than the other people that are following you, right? And as long as you're further along than they are, then all of a sudden you can build a really powerful something out of this if you want to be known in this space. So awesome. I love that. All right. When people use AI together in the process of creating content, what are the benefits that they have? Said another way, we're going to talk a lot about your process today. If people pay close attention to what we're going to talk about, what's the upside for them if they put this to work?
The one of the biggest thing that they're going to take away from this is not only feeling like they can do this, but also the benefit is they're going to save time. Because my biggest thing right now, being a full-time mom, like kind of full-time, kind of three kids under the age of 7,
You have three
full-time job.
jobs.
Yeah, I have 3 jobs and then a full-time job and the client work that I need to fulfill. It's just a lot of time consuming. But because of AI, I actually automated a couple different stuff that I do on a daily basis with my full-time job. Kids is kind of hard to automate, still have to be there for the kiddos. But yeah, with my work and personal branding with my channel, I've saved so much time, and I want that for other people too. I want people to use AI wisely, not to overwhelm them, but more of a take the burden off their plate.
I love it. Okay. So we're going to dig into content creation and AI right now. And before we get into this, you have been a creator for a while, right? I mean, you've been creating content for a long while.
Mhm.
And is there anything we need to begin discussion on or set a foundation before we get into the actual details here? Any kind of groundwork that would be really helpful for us to think about before we get into this?
Before we get into the content creation side of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is actually kind of related to the very first step that we're going to talk about, which is before what you need to do before you're actually creating content. So, yeah, if we want to deep dive into the 3 steps that we're going to talk about, this is related to the very first step. Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. So basically what I want to teach you guys, and also what I want to promise is after you watch the whole video, you'll feel like I know where to start, because that's the biggest thing. People watch all different content, including myself in the past, and they're consuming information and knowledge and everything that they can, but they don't actually execute because they're lost. They're like, where do I even start? So this is a very practical and very realistic one of the videos, because after watching it, you'll know exactly what to do and where to start. So the very first step that I want to talk about, which we're going to talk about 3 different steps, okay? Um, Actually, before we talk about 3 steps, let me kind of back up and explain the whole system to you, like kind of big breakdown, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah, and the reason why I even thought about this breakdown is because back in 2018, I was a content creator, like I mentioned before, and I grew my channel to 550K subscribers across 3 platforms: YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. But even though I had some subscribers, I still got really overwhelmed, not only because it took forever for me to create the content and edit the videos, but also I had no vision per se. Like I didn't know where I was going. Like I felt like I was lost. I'm like, you know what? I did this so that I can be more free, but I didn't really think about the business model or how can I actually make money with the business that I currently have. Because creating content is your business. A lot of people can do it for their hobbies, but a lot of times we don't just do it because it's fun for us. We do it because we want to be financially free, right? At least most people. I was one of those. So I came up with 7 different AI agent. So if you think of, and then sub agent. So what I mean by that is you have like your senior engineer who works for you, and also like junior engineer who's working for you. But what we're covering is the very fundamental, the basic first 3 steps today. Okay.
Mhm.
Because I don't think we need to cover everything else, like editing videos, uploading. That comes next, right? That's a little bit later on. But going back to the very fundamental, the first step, I call this inside out method. Inside out. I don't know if you watched the movie called Inside
Oh
Out.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's not related to that movie, but the reason why I came up with that is because you have to bring your internal, what's inside of you, to the outside of the world. Okay. So it's literally just bring your inside internal mindset to the outside of the world. So there is a concept that I like to introduce, which is called ikigai. Ikigai is a Japanese word, it's a Japanese concept. And Harvard Business School actually recently did a study about this. And what that is there are 4 different questions that I'm going to ask you. You can write this down, or if not, I can also send you the link that you can do it with using AI later on too. But the very first question of ikigai is what you love to do. What do you love to do? And the second thing is, what are you good at? Okay, like your passion or your profession. What are you good at? And the third thing is, what can you be paid for? Okay. And the last one is, what does the world need? If you answer those 4 questions, you will find this common ground. And that's what we call ikigai, which means a reason for a being. So that's the reason why you exist. And that's the reason why the world needs you and they're willing to pay you. What do you love to do? What are you actually good at? So my suggestion to every single one of you, and this is the exact path that I did, is bring a pen and paper. Okay. Don't even use AI just yet. Bring a pen and paper, disconnect from your phone and your laptop. Just go to your room. Think about your past history. I would say past 20 years or 30 years, depends on your age. And think about, when I was a teenager, I really loved doing this. When I was in my 20s, I really loved doing this, right? Or even your 30s, 40s, it doesn't matter. Just write those down physically because there is a beauty of physically writing something down instead of typing on your laptop. Okay. We're going back in the days. So I want you to write it down if you can, if you're able. If not, you can even get a recording or headset, whatever you need to do. But the whole main thing is disconnect yourself from technology, at least from this phase. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just real quick.
Mhm.
So this ikigai concept is a Japanese concept. And the 4 questions are, what do you love to do? What are you good at?
Mhm.
What can you be paid for? And what does the world need?
Yeah.
And you said to look for common ground. So the common ground, maybe you could give an example of how you did this for yourself so people can understand what that common ground might be. Just what does that mean exactly, that part of it?
Yeah, 100%. That's a good question. So when I did this for myself, I actually literally have a notebook that I have upstairs and I grab a pen and paper and then write down everything. What do I like to do? I love teaching people. I'm passionate about that. And I love serving other people. And I would write down every single thing. And what am I actually good at? How can I differentiate myself? That's what I was actually pretty good at when I started 2018 because I said language is something that I am good at. I can differentiate myself. But one of the mistakes that I made back in 2018 is I only focused on one section, which is what am I good at. I didn't focus on what does the world need and what is the what are they willing to pay me, right? But also, I was really passionate about learning different technology. My background is political science, and I have sales and marketing background over 10 years. So nothing to deal with technology, but I was just fascinated how fast it's growing, the AI and the news. I just happened to watch all the videos on YouTube. That's how I knew what I was passionate about in terms of learning different things. So I wrote that down. And after what does the world need? Back then, like in end of 2025, there's a lot of companies who needed AI automation. It's like now it's shifting a little bit, but then still AI automation was one of the biggest, hottest, like the topic that people talk about. So I just wrote down, okay, AI automation is what people really like to do. And what are they willing to pay for is the actual services that they need or some sort of education, right? So I would write down every single thing that people can do. And also I wrote down like my kids and being a mom, so how I can differentiate myself. So even when I first started my YouTube journey, I had to like change it a little bit here and there. So I want to let you know the process, it is a process. So what you're writing down is not like a definite thing. So my suggestion is don't even take more than a day for you to get started because this is just a start that you can have. Because a lot of times people can just think so much and they go into the rabbit hole and they're like, actually, I don't know if people are willing to pay for my this, why would they ever pay for my guitar, whatever they're passionate about and whatever they're good at. There is always a way that you can monetize, right? But you just have to think in the right way. So my next suggestion after writing down physically is you write that down into AI. Okay. So I personally have put this together for myself and then for my people for free. So basically they'll put everything down into AI, but AI will analyze you and they'll come up with your ideal customer avatar. We call it ideal customer people person. So ICP. And also, not only that, they will come up with the content pillars. So they will tell you exactly where you can start when it comes to content.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So just to reiterate, this how do you say it? Ikigai?
Yeah. Mhm.
Ikigai concept is really a self-exploration process where you are asking yourself these 4 questions, which we mentioned earlier, and you're contemplating what is it that I could do that could create content that brings me joy and makes an impact, and that ultimately could lead to something good for me down the road for my business. Dot dot dot. So, what are there any other things we need to talk about? Because I know. Brand voice was something we talked about when we were prepping for this, and maybe this is what we're talking about, maybe not, but I would love to hear a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, 100%. So content pillar is related to the brand voice, right? So when it comes to whether it's a personal brand or your business brand, it's very important, especially nowadays, that you have to differentiate yourself. It is very crucial that you do that because there's so many AI avatars and AI influencers coming out. And one of the best way how you can differentiate yourself and your brand is the story. Okay. And the story is the part that you are doing with the Ikigai right now. Because whenever you're thinking about those questions, what are you good at? Or, what are you passionate about? And how can you differentiate yourself? That's your story, right? So when it comes to really building your personal brand or building your business brand, you have to have a backup story behind it. And whenever you're creating content, you're going to base off your content based on those stories so that people can relate. Because I feel like one of the reasons why people related to me with my audience right now is because I share my story. I tell them that I'm a mom and I tell them I have a full-time job. And I feel like I created this system to become ADHD because I'm going all over the place. So people relate. People who are busy parent or busy full-time work who wants to be financially free. Because my goal was make the side income 10K. And I just barely hit that last month, which I'm very proud of. So people who really want that financial freedom, then they can duplicate what I did because I'm keep sharing my story to them.
Got
So
it. Okay.
that's a brand voice. Mhm.
So at this point, we have taken this information that we have written down. We've taken it into our AI model of choice. We've asked it to help us identify who our ideal customer is and what are some types of content that we could create. Where do we go from there?
Yep. I love that. So the very next step that you would do, which is the second step, is you have to know how you start, right? You have to know where you start. So my recommendation is starting on YouTube. I think YouTube is one of the best platform that you can start when it comes to growing your personal brand or social media channel. Now, there's a lot of different channels, different social media platform like LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram, or TikTok. But LinkedIn, I feel like, oh, sorry, YouTube, I feel like it's one of the best way that people actually feel connected to you, and it's um, one of the best way to monetize as well. Not only I'm not talking about YouTube ad monetization, but more about how people are willing to pay for your services later on. That's what I found out because I have hundreds of different creators that I have connection with because I've been a creator since 2018, and they tell me exactly the same thing. That's one of the reasons why I really dedicated myself to YouTube. So after you fill out this Ikigai platform on social media, you can use again the link that I have, or you can ask AI and ask them to give you content pillar. What I mean by content pillar is it's going to give you very specific information about what your content should look like based on your ideal customer person. Okay. So whether that can be like interview style, just like what you're doing right now, Mike, or that can be the, what is it called? Like
Oh, solo, where it's just you by yourself?
yeah, I forgot the name of it. Like a solo,
Yeah,
yeah.
just talking head or whatever.
Yeah, talking head. That's right. Talking head video, or it
Yeah,
can be like a vlog or vlog, right?
yeah.
So it can be any different style, but AI will give you suggestion. But after the suggestion, the very second step, fundamental foundation that we talked about is finding the outlier video. Okay. I'm a huge believer that being authentic, it doesn't mean you have to be original. Okay. A lot of people think being authentic means being original and vice versa. Being original means being authentic. Now, if you're original, yeah, you're being authentic for sure. But just because you want to be authentic, that you always have to be original, I don't really think so. So my suggestion is combining those two. I suggest that you find reference videos from other creators and other platforms, other news, and then make it your own style. Now, I'm going to be very careful because I'm not going to say copy and paste exactly what other people say and then you just make it your own. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is you have to have a reference to see what's actually working, what format is working, what formula is working, what topic is working, and they translate that into your own video. That is how I was able to grow my channel from 200 subscribers, this channel right now that I have, to 10,000, 11,000 less than a month because I use that system. Okay.
Talk to me about how AI helps us find these things and talk to
Mhm.
me a bit about that.
Yeah, I love that. So back in 2018, what I would used to do is I did everything really manually. I went to YouTube and I search by my topic. Let's just say pretend um hi in Korean. You know, how do you say hi in Korean? Let's just say that. Hi in Korean and I will just space and click A, click B, and then I will just do topic research. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Just kind of see what people are typing.
Yeah, you're just watching different videos that are coming
Yeah.
up on YouTube. Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
watching different videos. So just as an example, I would just be like, hi in Korean or SEO blog automation. Let's just say that SEO blog automation. And I will click space and I will type A. And if it,
Oh,
yeah,
I see what
and
you're
then
saying.
if it comes out,
Autofill inside of
yeah,
YouTube searches.
autofill.
Okay.
It's a very manual process. And then vidIQ came out and TubeBuddy. I'm like, okay, this is like a game changer. But what's happening right now in 2026 is because I watch a lot of videos about YouTube algorithm because I'm fascinated by that. And I found out Gemini is over YouTube algorithm nowadays. Meaning those keyword research doesn't really matter as much compared to back in the days because Gemini don't really care about keyword. What do they care? They care what people are actually watching. What are they fascinated about? Like those recommendations. I don't know if you realize, but in 2026, YouTube, either shorts or long form, the recommendation has gotten a lot smarter because they know exactly what you want. And that's actually one of the reasons why side tip is when you start your channel, don't ask your friend, don't ask your mom or dad or friends, husband, wife to subscribe your channel if they're not watching anything similar. Because what happens is if I ask my mom to subscribe to my channel and she only watches, cooking show, whatever, then YouTube, like Gemini, they're gonna suggest my channel to whoever's watching cooking show. It's like, oh, she likes this. Let's do this. And then actually the um all the interactions and everything algorithm will drop because people are not clicking my videos, right? So going back to your question, I did whatever I did manual, I did everything automate by AI. So AI now is finding those outlier videos. So I have different niches and different channel that I follow right now, and I'll put that into the AI system that I built, and AI will get the outlier score. So outlier score for my case is determined by the average channel's view within the 48 hours. And I'll what is it? This specific video within the 48 hours divided by the average channel view within the 48 hours times 100. That's how I get the outlier score. Okay. The reason why I did 48 hours is because especially in AI space, everything is so fast. So anything I feel like behind 48 hours is kind of slow. And also that's how I think Gemini is determining if this video is good or not. It's like they just look at the first 48 hours very heavily and try to decide I'm gonna push this video or not. So that's how I got the outlier video.
Okay, so let's just let me get super specific here. It sounds as if you're using Gemini by Google and you're giving it instructions to go out and maybe audit a channel that you really like because you mentioned earlier you want to find some reference videos from creators. Maybe you really like creator X or creator Y. So then you have Gemini say, find me the outlier videos that are getting a lot of views within 48 hours and then you study those. Is that effectively what we're saying here or no?
Yeah, no, you got that right, Mike. That's exactly what I did manually back in the day. And then I did that task. I turned that manual process into AI, right? Because
Yeah.
something that I would have done, which is like manually looking at all the creators and seeing what's working, what's not working. Now AI is just doing it for me.
So tell us a little bit more about how we could do that ourselves if we wanted to try to do that. Like, what would we need to do?
Yeah, exactly. So remember, I told you one of the biggest thing that the biggest misconception is there are too many tools. There are just too many things that we have to do. I would say one of the best tool that you can use right now, which I'm not affiliated by them, is Claude Cowork and Claude Code. If you can just learn one tool, I suggest learning Claude Code because Claude Code can do so much more. It can connect to your YouTube API key and get all the data. And it's not too complicated. It looks complicated because even the word is Claude Code. So that's why people think, oh, it's coding. But no, like I don't have any coding background. So you can definitely do it. But anyways, if you can learn Claude Code, what you will do is you will have Claude Code build a system. Now you can build a skill, right? So you can build a skill. You can also build mark or you can make a markdown file, which means it's pretty much a set instruction that you can give Claude Code. So each time you use the skill, they're like looking back at the code instructions and then they give you the best result each time. That's what it is. Mhm.
Okay, cool. So you built, and by the way, we've had a number of guests recently on the show that are we've covered Claude Cowork, Claude Code. For folks that are new to the show, you might want to go back and listen to those. And we've covered skills too. So you created a skill which is effectively an AI, a YouTube analyzer, for lack of better words, right?
Mhm.
Does it go out and find the channels for you automatically, or do you give it the channel and then it goes and it finds the videos? Like, talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So basically, I put those different channels, or I gave Claude Code the different channels. And since I wanted to update that channel, I have an Excel documentation that related to this channel phase as well. So let's just say I have 10 channels that I follow that's related to AI update. And I want to use them as my outlier videos, meaning whether they're a bigger account, smaller account, if the video is popping up and the trend is working, if their format is working, I want to use that as well. So I would feed to Claude Code this information. I want you to always study these top 10 channels that I put, and always give me idea if the outlier video is good. If the video is an outlier video, I want you to let me know what are the good videos that I can copy the format. Okay. And Claude Code is actually emailing me. Sorry, let me back up.
Yeah,
Claude
it
Code,
must keep
yeah,
a loop, right? Like it's checking every day or something like that. Okay, go ahead.
yeah, it checks every day, and the Cloud Code made a system in N8N, which is automation platform. Then they email me every single day. It's like, this is the video that you need to talk about. This is what you need to talk about. So instead of me having to go look at the videos every day, they do that for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Claude is now beginning to do what they call, well, a lot of developers call them cron jobs, where I think you can schedule activities inside of Claude. So you
Yes,
can probably almost build this without going to N8N now,
100%. Yeah, I think.
which is awesome because N8N is very technical. So, okay, so you're getting an email in your inbox that says, "Hey, this video is taken off. What's next? What do you do once you get that email?"
Yeah. So the purpose of me building this AI content system is me not going to 10 different apps. That's what it was. So after you do that, I make sure the AI has to learn your brand voice. Remember the personal brand section part, right? Whatever you fill out, make sure the Claude Code knows your personal brand and your brand voice and your ideal customer avatar. If you have existing content that you already created, I will feed that information. My case was that they already knew my style, how I talk, how I want to be like a little friendly to my audience, and stuff like that. And after doing all of that, what I did was I create this one system, finding an outlier video, and then copy the format, and then turn that format into my own style.
Mhm.
So I can click the recording button and then I can learn. And that's the exact system that I use for my own channel. And then that view was, 20K, 30K, 60K. And that was the reason why I was able to hit because I used this exact formula.
Okay, so talk to us a little bit about, okay, you get the video in your inbox, you
Mhm.
look at it, you probably say, okay, I like this one. I would like to model this. How do you do that? Like, talk to us a little bit technically about how the AI does what it does to help with this part of it.
Yeah. So me specifically, I would feed AI my style, right? My brand style and my brand voice.
Is
But
that
what
through
I'm
Claude project or where are you doing that exactly? Like, is that like, talk to me a little bit technically about how you pull that off.
Yeah, exactly. Are you talking about my brand voice?
Yeah, yeah. Like, just help people know like where are you feeding that? Are you still using Claude Code or using a Claude project or what are you doing to make that happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I still use Claude Code. Again, I didn't leave Claude Code for any of this project.
I see. Okay.
I yeah, I actually after I talked to you, Mike, not it was soon after. It was soon after I talked to you, I built just a SaaS, like a little mini app application so I can just use this for myself constantly because I did everything
Cool.
locally,
Yeah.
meaning I can only do on my laptop. But I'm like, what if I go out, not using my laptop? I need to be able to use it from my phone. So I just built it and I did all of that using Claude Code. So you
Mhm.
can do that for yourself too. Anyways, going back to the personal brand, your question, yes, I did feed that information with Claude Code so that they know exactly my brand voice. That's the important part because if you don't do this part, then people will think you're just a copycat. Then you can't differentiate yourself.
So just so people understand technically, my understanding is you probably had a new skill specifically created just that was Sandy's uh, voice, for lack of better
Mhm,
words, right? So
mhm.
you had a skill that was out there doing the research and finding the videos, and that was connected to end to end. And then you have another skill that basically, after you watch a video, uh, do you watch the video and say, let's do this, and then it triggers the next part of the process where it watches that video and maybe transcribes that video and then reverse engineers how it works and then comes back with recommendations that you can model. Is that effectively what we're talking about here?
Yes, you got that exactly right. I love that. I love that you were able to catch that without even looking at the screen. So that's that's perfect.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. So, tell us, so what comes, I mean, so are we moving right on to the next step here? So tell, because we've got three parts here. We've got this early part, right, which is really just capturing your brand voice
Mhm.
and that whole ikigai thing. And now we're into this cool middle part, which is this research part. And by the way, there's many ways, folks, you could probably pull off what Sandy's talking about, but
Mhm.
she's going the super awesome way with Claude Code. I would imagine you could probably pull this off in a less automated way with Claude Cowork or with maybe Gemini or that kind of stuff. But I love what you're doing. So now we're getting to the point where we're actually having AI help you come up with the script. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That's the very next step, right? The very next step is a scripting and then coming up with a screen share because especially my niche, I like to share my screen a lot and just kind of talk about this is what I'm talking about and I'm really going in I don't really want to say personal on the personal level. You know what I mean? Like as if you were actually in the same room with me. So in the past, what I had to do is I had to feed Claude Code what I was exactly thinking. And then that alone took several hours. Even creating a screen share took several hours. But I gave a specific format of what I want to have when it comes to screen share, starting from the color. What color do I want when it comes to screen share? To what kind of content do I want? Do I want like very detailed information with my script, or do I want very concise? But in my case, I want to use a lot of analogy. So I asked Claude Code to come up with a lot of analogy, animation, looking kind of fancy. Also, I feed my brand kit. So every single time, whenever I want to share that topic that's working in my outlier video, Claude Code is generating the script for me. So
Can
just
I
like
ask a quick clarifying question?
yeah.
So, the part that I think I would love to get clarification on is once the outlier video is discovered and you say, yes, I really like this, um, give people tips on like how that reverse engineering works a little bit, right? Because like, what is your AI doing to assess the video to get to the essence of what is it about that video that's successful? Because there is some sort of secret sauce here,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because it's not just the way they spoke, it's something more to it,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
what is it? What should we be telling the AI to look for or reverse engineering when we find these Outlier videos that can help in the scripting process?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, Outlier video, the score itself is this video popping up like based on all the videos that they put out there, right? But
Okay.
we not only give the Outlier score, AI is actually analyzing the thumbnail as well. So, I have another thumbnail agent and video editing agent, which that's a later on type of thing. But then thumbnail, title, and the first 30 seconds, the hook, we call it, that's the most important part of the video. Packaging is so important because if you have crappy packaging, people are not going to click your video. Doesn't matter how good the content is, you have to put a really good packaging. I mean, that's the reason why all the big brands, right, like the purse brand, Louis Vuitton, their packaging is so beautiful, right? Even the Mac that I just barely got, the packaging is so fancy. Kind of similar concept. YouTube packaging is very, very important. And when it comes to AI, going back to your question, yes, they do determine why is this packaging working? Like, okay, the thumbnail, they use side comparison. So they actually give me an idea of, okay, this is a side comparison video. And then they study the hook as well. And they said, this person used this hook, which is the curiosity hook. And throughout the video, then they really answer those questions that people have, which is the pain point that people have, the common questions that they have. So AI give a very short descriptive of the packaging as well as the inside content. So when I look at that, I'm like, okay, this looks like it's a pretty good video for me to study a little bit. And if I want to watch it, then I can click and watch it so that I can kind of see what AI is talking about. But if I trust the AI, I'm like, okay, I think this is a really hot topic. I've seen it over and over. Now I just want to click record. Then you literally click the recording share button. It will give you a script for you. Also, it will give you the screen share button for you. So that's
Got it. So you've modeled this in such a way that it's looking at the thumbnail, it's looking at the title, and it's looking at the opening 30 seconds of what's happening in the video. And I know that there are some vision models out there that, it's one thing to look at the transcript, it's another thing to actually look at what's happening in the video. And I'm guessing that you're using some tool that actually isn't just transcribing what they're saying, but is actually watching what's happening on the screen. Is that correct? Because
yeah.
if you just look at the transcript, it's like watching a movie versus seeing the transcript. It's not the same. You know what I mean? So after your AI does all this analysis, is it coming back with like a set of recommendations and then a script? Or is it a script and all these other things? Like, talk to me a little bit about that.
So the recommendation part is not as long, and you can make it as long as you want, right? But I want it more concise because my biggest thing was speed. I'm like, I need to have a speed. However, if your niche is more profound, you need to make sure you do have a lot of backup data and really study, then I would do a lot of really good set of recommendation by AI. No problem. That's the beauty of AI. You can go as deep as you want, as shallow as you want, as much as you want to use it. So after getting the recommendation, and if I really like this, then AI will turn this script into my own style. And I actually use this 7 different steps of this hook analysis. So I will go over that with you in about a minute. But basically, I use this hook method, and the AI will turn that into my own styles using this 30-second hook. And then throughout the whole video, then throughout the whole script, it will use analogy that we're talking about and my own voice, right? So it's fitting to my audience. And then whenever I'm reading the script, I sound more natural.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then my examples too. So do you want to know the 7 hook formulas we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. So the 7 hook formula is something that I used since 2018. At first, I didn't know anything about hook. So I was just going off very random stuff. I'm like, hey, everyone, my name is Sandy. Like one of those YouTuber style. But I realized, that's like one of the worst thing that you can say because it worked back in the day, but not anymore. That you have to have really good hook. So the 7 formula, I'll just say it right now and then I'll explain each step. One is called pattern interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Second one is a mirror viewer.
Okay.
Third, opportunity. 4, gap. 5, transformation. 6, authority. 7, transition.
Okay.
Okay. So first one, the pattern interrupt is you have to interrupt the pattern right away, which means it's a good hook. You're gonna whether you ask a question to them or whether it's because the reason why is because they chose amongst all different videos, they chose your video for a reason, right? So that means they click your thumbnail that they really liked. And if you're talking about the random stuff, doesn't really make sense. So you have to interrupt the pattern of what they did to grab their attention. That's what it is. So have a one sentence that's grabbing their attention. And the second one is mirror the viewer. That is where you can talk about their pain point. So for this specific channel, people one of the biggest pain point of creating content is it takes forever. That's the problem. Is like it takes forever. So I can probably talk about do you want to build a personal brand for yourself? And then the mirror viewer will be, I know content creation is very hard. Like you just finished your work 9 to 5 full time. You come home, you have to turn on the camera and then go with the script. And then it's just hard to do. So you're kind of relating to them. And the next step is opportunity. So you can talk about, you know what, but there's something that I'm going to tell you. If you stay until, if you watch this video until the end, I promise you that you'll find a system that's going to be helpful for you. Kind of similar to what you and I did, Mike, towards the beginning. It's giving the opportunity, right? And then you're also creating the gap. But if you don't practice this right now, honestly, you're going to fall behind a little bit. Not like a scarcity tactic, but more of realistically, if you don't watch this, then you're going to stay behind because I really believe that. AI, people are not behind just yet, but they will be if they don't use it right now. Okay. So I'll just talk about the gap between people who watch my video versus who didn't watch my video so that so I can have a higher retention. That's the whole reason behind this hook formula. Okay. And same thing with transformation. And after this, you watch this video, you'll know exactly what to do step by step. And I have 6 different steps that we're going to talk about in this video. And then I'll go over those steps. And authority is, who am I? Because when people are watching at this point, if they're new to my channel, they're like, who's this girl talking about this? Then I'll talk about, I started my channel since 2018 and I grew my channel to 550K. I recently made 10K of this passive income, whatever that you can say to build your authority. That's what a lot of people do. If you watch one of those YouTubers channels nowadays, Mike, a lot of people talk about that. It's like, why do you have to listen to me? It's because I'm this, you know? Yeah. And then transition means you're going into the first step, like you're making the transition right away.
I love it. Wow. Sandy, we have just scratched the surface of your process and your mind, and it's absolutely been a fun journey to go on with you. And I know we're just beginning to tap, and we're just barely, scratching the surface of the things you talk about on your YouTube channel and in your community and stuff. If people want to find you on YouTube, where do you want to send them? And if they want to possibly work with you in some sort of capacity, where would you like them to go?
Yeah. So I do have a free, obviously YouTube is free, right? It's a Sandy Lee AI. I can also give you the link so you can put that maybe in the description so people can find that. Or and the other thing is I have a private community that's called AI Content System, which you mentioned towards the beginning of this video. And the reason why I even have this private community is because I realize a lot of times when people are wanting to start something and they feel lost, one of the reasons why they give up is because they don't feel like they're validated, their ideas or their thought. And also, it's good to have motivation behind it from the accountability partner's perspective. So that's why I wanted to create a community where people can support each other. I can share my thoughts to them directly all the time, right? And then have a weekly basis call. So you can find that private community. It's called AI Content System. And the platform is called School, Skool. That's how you can find that community.
Awesome. Sandy Lee, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Thanks for having me.